It is what, May, and I still haven't got my coronavirus relief check? Ah, god damn it. This is bullshitting me.
It's you and
Comrades, I have a very important question for you guys, so stick around to the end of the video. Yes, please. So if you guys don't know, I still haven't received my coronavirus relief check, and it's because I was claimed dependent. I'm not blaming the person who claimed me dependent, but I am blaming Donald Trump, and there's a very good reason. And it's because Donald Trump wanted 30 million Americans to not receive their coronavirus relief checks. Yes, that's correct. He wanted 30 million Americans to go without their $1,200. Why? Well, for a various number of reasons, including racism, ableism, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Mainly, he doesn't want people who he doesn't believe are adults to receive money. Or he doesn't want people who are immigrants to receive money. Because he's too much of a man-child. But that's the whole story. And the media doesn't wish to actually cover the real truth. No, they wish to keep it under wraps and not cover the actual news, which is covering the fact that 30 million Americans have been intentionally left out of the coronavirus stimulus package because of man-baby Donald Trump's stupidity. And the Democrats have been just playing along with the cards because it seems that no one on Capitol Hill believes that anyone who is claimed dependent is actually an adult. Why is it this way? Who knows? Actually, they don't believe that anyone who isn't a part of the middle class even exists or even is worth their time. That's the concern when you actually look at the mainstream media and so forth. They just don't consider you as a part of the American system, if you wish to say it that way, if you're not a taxpayer. If you can't pay into the system, they don't consider you as even something to be even validly even existing. I know it's sad that you have to rant about the media because they don't cover the lower class at all, which they don't, but it has to do with their corporate interests, which is for another video and another time. To them, all Americans have received their checks. Not true. Not all Americans have received their checks. 30 million haven't because of Donald Trump's incompetency and because of how much of an idiot he is. But they will continue to tell you that all 30 million Americans, have received their checks. But that's fake news. That's a lie. It's bullshit. They haven't received their checks. 30 million haven't received their checks. Not all 330 million have received their checks. And CNN and MSNBC are not covering it because, well, dependents should just vote in line with the Democrats regardless of who is running, as long as it's air quotes getting Donald Trump out of office without any real progressive policies being done. And Fox News, in their coverage of our protest, would actually make lies about us. So in reality, none of this is better, and all you got to do is look at this from NBC. Because again, they're acting like all Americans are receiving their money when 30 million Americans still haven't been paid because of their dependency and because of Donald Trump's incompetency. And it could be included the IRS's, old tax codes and the child tax credits that Donald Trump wants to keep in place because, he doesn't want to reform them. Note, I first wrote this script on April 29th, and I still haven't received my money as of when this video is being uploaded.
We're back now with a surprise for many Americans. Those stimulus checks from the government went out early. Some received them in their bank accounts today. Senior business correspondent Stephanie Rule joins us now. Stephanie, good seeing you. Why have some people received them but not others?
Jose, they are going first to people who filed their taxes previously using direct deposit. That way it goes straight to your bank account. Now, if you haven't received it yet, don't worry. They're not going out all at once, but they should be by the end of next week. And if you didn't do direct...
And hey, did you check your bank account today? Millions of Americans starting to see their stimulus checks trickle in from the IRS. Congress passed the stimulus plan, and the president signed off on that at the end of March. Our Ellen McNamara joins us now from our newsroom with reaction from local residents who just saw that bump in their accounts. What are you hearing, Ellen?
Hey, Carolyn. Well, according to Treasury Secretary Steve...
Well, millions of Americans did check their bank accounts and didn't get any money. And you want to know why? It's because of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump left them out on purpose. Note, I would like to share with you guys something by the Dallas News. It states millions of adult dependents won't get their coronavirus stimulus cash, and upwards of 30 million Americans could miss out on the payments because of how the legislation treats adult dependents, according to the Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center. The exclusion appears to result from an existing provision in the tax code with child tax credits, along with how such stimulus checks have worked in the past. But the setup is still a head-scratcher for many tax policy experts, especially given the scope of the crisis. But among those who are supposed to benefit are those who have little to no taxable income that would in theory seem to include college students and other adult dependents who by definition are not making much money and get most of their support from someone else. The stimulus legislation, however, specifically bars payouts from dependents who are at least 17. It is unclear why, Eugene Maga of the Tax Policy Center said, even though people were talking about it, that we can assume it was intentional. Note, Trump has also left out immigrants and families of immigrants who should have received the stimulus package as well. We can only guess why he left them out when for years he's been trying to build a wall between the United States and Mexico. I know. The man is a racist. He should be paying immigrant citizens of the United States, but he's not. My guess, this is for ableist reasons, racist reasons, and for other reasons against people who are dependent.
Some immigrant families might not be getting a stimulus check, specifically U.S. citizens married to immigrants. Anieli Ruiz explains.
Stimulus checks are hitting their bank accounts, but some citizens might not be getting a check.
Hold in the stimulus bill, which basically holds and makes possible for mixed status families to be completely left out.
We're talking about the U.S. citizens who file a joint tax return with a spouse that does not have a Social Security number.
But all in all, this violates Article 22 of the UN Declaration of Human Rights, as it is a declared human right by the United Nations for each nation to provide for their citizenry financially during times of pandemic or natural disaster, as that involves social welfare, funding, and Social Security. I know some people are just going to say, well, the person who claimed dependency over you is just going to get the $2,000 credit at the end of the year, but I can tell you this, that is just an excuse for not paying the $4,400 that partially the government still owes $1,200 of, or the $5,600 that they would have owed had I had two parents with me, because I still live with my mom. But this is always the case. The government owes 30 million Americans, and they're not willing to pay those 30 million Americans. But they still owe those 30 million Americans. And next year, when it comes around, they're gonna owe me back pay for this. A year of back pay for it. And they're gonna owe me whatever damages and other bullshit has come around for it too. And they're still not gonna acknowledge that. And what about the people who live in group homes, where the group home owner claims dependency over them, and they didn't get anything from it, because the greedy ass owner of the group home gets all the $1,200 from them because of reasons, off of their disability, off of whatever. Fuck you. That's a scam, and that is theft. You see? So, in reality, the same shit that happened in 2008 where the government didn't pay adult dependents, disabled people, and students, that was the main reason why we had the Occupy movement back in 2012. And at that time, you had people in the mainstream media like Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity, Bill O'Reilly, and oh yes, Tucker Carlson and Sean Hannity are part of the mainstream media, claiming that the students didn't know what they were protesting for when they knew very damn well what they were protesting for. And Fox News wasn't the only one promoting this bullshit. CNN did the same thing. Just look at this.
Now for a story that made us say, seriously? The Occupy Wall Street protest entered its third week today. What started as less than a dozen college students camping out in a park near the New York Stock Exchange is now hundreds of protesters, and it's spread to other cities. But what are they protesting? Nobody seems to know.
Yeah, this was a very big lie. Remember that thing that I was showing you guys from the Dallas News? Yeah, the Dallas News was stating that this is dealing with old IRS rules dealing to child tax credits that are in desperate need of reform, because adult dependents, once they reach 17, are no longer children. Which is true, they're not children. So the IRS should not be treating them as children. So this tax credit should not exist once they reach 17. You see what I'm saying? Once you reach 17, the tax credit should go away. And it was stating that it constitutes violations of the UN Standard of Human Rights of how the Social Security system is supposed to be run, or in this case, how the IRS is supposed to be run, over a $1,200 thing that the government has given them for reasons. And the Dallas News was right, and I'm right, because those reasons are that no matter if you have a dependency clause or not, you should be paying people that are 17 years and older, regardless if they're dependent or not. And if this child tax credit is going to be there, then the child tax credit is a violation of human rights. It needs to go away because it's taking away from somebody else. So in a way, as I said with myself, Uncle Sam owes hundreds of trillions of dollars to people from back in 2008. This includes back pay and damages from the 2008 stimulus that they didn't pay off because of bullshit in the IRS rules that they didn't acknowledge and that they're not willing to pay off. And this shit is still continuing. It's overlapping into the coronavirus stuff because they don't want to reform it, and Trump's incompetency is now implementing into the IRS rules, and he doesn't want to change it because, well, Republican sort of beliefs are that if you're not in the middle class, if you're not a taxpayer, then you don't exist. And their situation is that if you're not somebody who is a consumer who is in the middle class, or to the Republicans, what they consider as middle class is somebody who makes over $35,000 or more, then you don't exist. I'm sorry. That doesn't need to be there. And if you're still claiming that a 32-year-old man is a child because of your conservative belief system that is made of ignorance and believes that you're paying into my debt, then fuck off. Also, any news station or in the area of Fox News propaganda site that was stating that all Americans are receiving their checks or have received their checks should redact their statements and make apologies on the grounds that the United States was violating the UN Declaration of Human Rights and start giving, and I mean 4 hours of coverage to this specific topic alone each day until the United States recognizes this and pays up. And they should also stop covering their corporate donors and start covering the lower class issues for 4 hours a day as well. This includes things like bringing back Glass-Steagall, reinstituting the New Deal, reform the SSA to institute universal basic income for disabled people and get rid of the $2,000 rule in the SSI, reform the IRS to exclude the dependency clause from the stimulus packages and include emergency UBI for all citizens during a national crisis with progressive tax codes. This includes universal basic income for people who are just dependents who are 17 years or older. And talk about instituting single-payer healthcare and single-payer education. These are the things that MSNBC and CNN need to be covering every single day, not the bullshit that they are covering, because these are the things that need to be talked about, not Trump 24 hours a day. See, either the media doesn't care about us, or they either don't see the left as something that even exists, or they don't even know what the left is. The same thing goes for disabled people and dependents. They just don't care about us. That's the situation. They just don't care. They don't acknowledge anyone as existing who isn't in the middle class, and that is their problem, because they should be spending way more time on the lower class than they do on anything else. In fact, the time that they spend on covering their corporate elites, corporate donors, and Donald Trump is the same amount of time that they need to be spending on the lower class, the real information about the lower class, and not having it filtered through their corporate donors. I'm consistently right about this because you can see here is the problem. Rachel Maddow, Lawrence O'Donnell, and Chris Hayes get more views in just the United States alone than any YouTube channel does in a single country. In fact, from what I know, they get about 2.4 million in just the United States. In just an area of over 2,000 miles. Now, the largest YouTube channels sometimes can get 10 million views in an area of maybe a million or so miles. But they get 1/4 that on a national scale. 1/4 that. Now, TYT and the rest of them mostly get their viewership, the 300,000-400,000 views that they get on a global scale. Couple of million miles apart on a global scale. The problem is, when you're dealing with it, 2,000 miles versus 2 million miles, and TYT gets 300,000 views out of 2 million miles, while Rachel Maddow gets 2.4 million out of 2,000 miles, distance-wise, for how many of distance of where their viewership span or whatever. That's a big problem. That's a huge problem, especially when it comes to trying to figure out how you're going to market left-wing ideas or any idea. It's a massive problem because that means that these corporations have power in American politics, and some of our biggest political YouTube channels don't. Basically, the hosts on NBC get way more views than any YouTube channel, with the exception of music videos. And when you compare NBC's power politically compared to TYT, it's insurmountable. It is insurmountable. So if NBC were to go fully to the left and completely support left-wing ideas, if we really had someone like Rachel Maddow, or people like Rachel Maddow, Lawrence O'Donnell, all these people in NBC fully support left-wing ideas, socialism, the way we consistently talk about it, we would have a massive movement. Millions of people across the country would be galvanizing against the corporates, against the corporate elites. But no, the corporate elites control these media sources, because these media sources are owned by the corporate elites. They're owned by these corporations. So if only we didn't have if we had someone like CNN or MSNBC who was not owned by someone like Disney or Time Warner or Comcast, who could reach 3 million people in a single night in just a little span of 2,000 miles across the United States. It would make a major difference because there's a lot of people in the United States that don't know about leftist politics. And it would change the demographics, especially if someone like NBC was not owned by a corporation. Excuse me for jumping up, I had to do that. If they were owned by all Americans, if they serve the interest of the people, then this shit wouldn't happen. If they had no corporate donors, this shit wouldn't happen. No corporate donors. If the media had absolutely no corporate donors, if we just went in and made it law that the media cannot have corporate donors, that they must serve the interests of the people, I wonder how that would be. This is another reason why they only respond to shit that is popular. Because it challenges their corporate interests. You see? And it's kind of a balancing situation. Because not only does it have to challenge their corporate interests, but it's kind of weighted to the side of conservatives a little bit more than it is towards left-wingers. So, left-wingers have to make more than conservatives do. Which I'll explain. What I mean is that left-wingers have to get at least 40 million views for them to actually recognize anything. At least 40 or 50 million views for them to even remotely even think of anything, because that would be the point in time which it becomes viable for them to think of it, because now it is becoming a challenge to the point to where if they don't talk about it, it's going to hurt them financially if they don't talk about it. But at the same time, they're not going to cover it the way we want them to. And that is the problem. That is the issue with media. And we need to get the media to cover the mistakes that they've done and cover the bullshit within the IRS that the IRS has done and that the government has done with the coronavirus relief package, and that Trump has done with the coronavirus relief package. And we need to get the media in some of these stuff to do this stuff, because the media controls Congress. The media controls Congress. And you guys don't know that, but the media does control Congress. And it's just that way. So my question to you guys, comrades, is how do we go about reforming the IRS to get rid of the child tax credits? And how do we go about getting the media to change? That's one thing. Because that has to happen. Comrades, leave your comments and your answers down in the comments section down below. Subscribe, click the bell icon for notifications, and remember, if you want to support me, you can follow me on my Twitter, you can support me on Patreon, Streamlabs, and you can follow me on Facebook. All the links are down in the description. Thank you. Peace out.